composer for their no-man clatter. When they're out with the day nurse doing chaperone mal, bright pigeons all over the world will fly with my mistletoe message round their love-ribboned necks and a crumb of my cake for each chasta diva. We keep all and sundry papers in the moorlight, oh my darling. No, I swear to you, by Fibbsborough Church Dome and St. Andre's Undershift, by all I hold secret from my world and in my underworld of 90s and noughties and all the other wonder world. Close your mouth, look. Now open your lips, like I used my sweet parted lips with Dan Holohan, the facetious memory, taught me after the flannel dance, with the proof of love up Smock Alley the first night he smelled powder, and I coloured beneath my fan with Hetania, when you learned me the lingo to melt. Who would have ears like ours, the black-haired? You like that, Silenzioso? Are you enjoying this same little me, my life, my love? Why do you like my whispering? Is it not divinely deluscious? But in it, baffle no. Missy, tell me till my thrill me come. I will not break the seal. I am enjoying it still, I swear I am. Why do you prefer it in these dark nets, if I may ask, my sweetiekin? Shh. Long ears is fine. No, sweetest. Why would that annoy you? But don't. You want to be slack, well, slack for that. Your delighted lips, love, be careful. Mind my Dubkeen dress above all. It's gold and silver, and newest sex stones with princess effect. For Rutland blue is got out of fashion. So, my precious. Oh, I can see the cost share. Don't tell me. Why, the boy in sheets leg knows that. If I sell whose, dears? Would I sold here, tears? You mean those conversation lozenges? How awful. The bold shame of me. I wouldn't, chicken. Not for all the Juliets in the twinkly way. I could snap them when I see them winking at me in bed. I did so, I intended, or was going to, or thinking of. Shh. Don't start like that, you wretch. I thought you knew all and more, ye author, to explique to ones the significat of their existence with your nibble on lead. It's only another queer fish or other in Brinbru's damned old treacherous river again. God the wish us, bless us and spare her, and give us rest from the bustle. Excuse me for swearing, love. I swear to the Saracens on their thrones of Uyan. I didn't mean to, by this Alpine armlet. Did you really never in all our Tantaline lives speak clothes to a girl's before? No? Not even to the charmer maid? How marvellous. Of course I believe you, my own dear doting Lias, when you tell me, as I'd live to, oh, I'd love to. This, I must whisper. Never that ever or I can remember, dear streaming faces, you may go through me. Never in all my whole white life of my matchless and fair, or ever for bitter be the fruit of this hour. With my whiteness I thee woo, and bind my silk breasts I thee bound. Always, amor, and more, till always thou love. Shh, so long as the locksmith lasts. 11. If you met on the binge a poor exile from ailing, when the tune of his tremble shook shimmy on shin, while his contrary raged in the week of his wailing, like a rugilant lion olin, if he maundered in miserliness, plaining his plight, or played fox and lice, pricking and dropping his teeth, or wringing his handcuffs for peace, the blind blighter, praying Geoff and Don Nostrums for thumpings to eat, if he wept while he leapt and guffled with a whimper, made cold blood a blue Monday and no bones without flesh, taking kiss, cake, or kick with a sock sigh or simper, a diffle to lan and a diddle to lech, if the fain shinner pegged you to shave his immartial, wee skill-mustered shoal, with his ooh-hoo-to-do, broking wind that to wild war-made sin he was partial, we don't think, Jones, we'd care to this evening, would you? Answer, no, Blanky. So, you think I have impulsivism? Did they tell you I am one of the 46? And I suppose you heard I had a wag on my ears, and I suppose they told you too that my role of life is not natural? But before proceeding to conclusively confute this begging question, it would be far fitter for you, if you dare, to hesitate to consult with, and consequentially attempt at my disposal of the same dime cash problem elsewhere, naturalistically of course, from the blink point of so eminent a specialist. From it you will hear notice shot upon my for the first remarking you that the sophology of fiction, while driven as under by a purely dime urge, is not without his cash characteristics, borrowed for its nonce ends from the fiery goodmother misfortune, who the last time we had the pleasure we have had our little recherche brush with, what? Shot? And as I further could have told you as brisk as your DBC behavioristically piety with a coat of homoid icing, which is in reality only a done-by-chance ridiculization of the who and where's hair's lyrics of Weinstein. To put it all the more clumsily, the speech form is a mere surrogate, whilst the quality and tality, I shall expect what you ought to mean by this, with its proper when and where and why and how, in the subsequent sentence, are alternative or mentally harrogate and arrogate as the gigs may be. Tallis is a word often abused by many passives. I am working out a quantum theory about it, for it is really most tantamizing state of affairs. A pessim may frequent you to say, have you been seeing much of Tallis and Tallis those times? Optimately meaning, will you put up a tree of Irish? Or, a lady eater may perhaps have casualized, as you tempoed her a la Sourdine, of your plates is Tallis de Tallis, the sword swallower, who is on the criterion, the same Tallis von Tallis, the pens crusher, no funk you, who runs his duly mile? Or this is a perhaps cleaner example. At a recent post-vortex piece investigation of a determinized case of chronic spinosis, an extension lecturer on the ague who, out of matter of form, was trying his Caesars, Dr. Hetz Overleaf, borrowed the question, why is which such man's Tallis qualis? To whom, as a matter of fact, Dr. Gedanke of Stoutgert, who was wiping his whistle, tersely retorted, while thou beest one zoom of a whore. Tallis and Tallis originally mean the same thing, it is Tallis. Professor Lovey-Bruller, though, as I shall promptly prove, his whole account of the Sennacherib, as distinct from the Shalmanesia sanitational reforms, and of the Mr. Skekels and Dr. Hyde's problem in the same connection, differs total chelo from the fruit of my own investigations, though the reason I went to Jericho must remain for certain reasons of political secret, especially as I shall shortly be wanted in Coventry. I congratulate myself, for the same and other reasons, as being again hopelessly vitiated by what I have now resolved to call the dime and cash diamond fallacy. In his talked-of confession, which recently met with such a leonine uproar on its escape after its confinement, why am I not born like a Gentile man, and why am I now so speakable about my own evils? Feigenbaum, Latin Father, Judah Pest, 5688 A.M., wholeheartedly takes off his gabber coat and wig, honest, drafty fellow, in his public interest, to make us see how, though, as he says, by all's will, the inception and the descent and the ends well of man is temporarily wrapped in obscenity. Looking through at these accidents with the faroscope of television, this nightlight instrument needs still some subtractionable betterment in the readjustment of the more refrangible angles to the squeals of his hypothesis on the outer thin side. I can easily believe heartily in my own most spacious immensity, as my own house and microbemost cosm, when I am reassured by ratio that the cube of my volume is to the surfaces of their subjects as the sphericity of these globes. I am very pressing for a parliamentary motion this term which, under my guidance, would establish the deleteriousness of decorousness in the morbidization of the modern man-about woman type, is to the veracity of Farinelli's vacuum. I need not apologize for any of intentional, I must Correct all that school motion this term, which under my guidance would establish the deleteriousness of decorousness in the morbidization of the modern man-about-woman type, is to the veracity of Fairy Nelly's vacuum. I need not apologize for any of intentional, I must here correct all that school of neo-idea of Fairy Nelly's vacuum. I need not apologize for any of intentional, I must here correct all that school of Neo-Italian or Paleo-Parisian scholar of tinkers and spanglers who say I'm wrong, pass the curve, out of revulsion from Romanitis I want to be, downtrodden on my foes. Professor Levi Brullo, FD, of Sex Weimann Eitelnacky finds, from experiments made by him with his Nuremberg eggs in the one hand, and the watches tunnel run upon the oven, though it is ostensibly a case of Ketzra volumes cooling the Pope's back, because the number of square fates in weekly circulation will not be appreciably augmented by the novel slogging of my pupil or clods. What the romantic in rags pined after, like all Tom-Tompions haunting crevices for a deadbeat escoopment, and what head importunes our midlife for in a Cornish with the mortadella paradison, is the poorest common guardian's waste of time. His ever-present foes are always in retaliation out-throat his overpast boots. Hear him squawk. Cheek heat to that loose wallower, how he ballowed the bat. Tyro Attore. When Moloch won the couple of coals, when we were stripping in number 3, I would like the neat drop that would malt in my mouth, but I fail to see when. I am purposely refraining from expounding the obvious fallacy as to the specific gravitate of the two delutables implied, nor to the lapses liqueur associated with the royal gorge through students of mixed hydrostatics and pneumodiptics, will, after some difficulties, grapple away with my minum. Murdered alone, as old Marcellus Cambrianus puts it. But on Professor Cloephus ap Bristol, FD, PH Doctor Showings, the flea, if he feeds, is all posh and robbage on a melodiontic scale, since his man's when is no other man's quan or mine, thank you, while for aught I care for the contrary, the all is where in love as war, and the plain where me art soar you lazy rouse a thunder from, and where I cling true, 'tis there I climb free, and where innocent looks best, there's holly in his eyes. As my explanations here are probably above your understanding, little Bratton, though as augmentatively uncomparisoned as Cadwan, Cadwallan, and Cadwallana, I shall revert to a more expletive method, which I frequently use when I have to sermo with muddle-crass pupils. Imagine, for my purpose, that you are a squad of urchins, sniffly-nosed, gosling-necked, clothy-headed, tangled in your lacings, tingled in your pants, etc., etc. And you, Bruno Nauron, take your tongue out of your inkpot. As none of you knows Javanese, I will give all my easy free translation of the old fabulous parable. Alaboy minor, take your head out of your satchel. Audi Joe Peters, ex-Audi fact. The mooks and the gripes. Gentes and lazy men, full stoppers and semi-colonials, hybrids and lovers. Eins within a space, and a weary wide space it was, warned a mooks. The onesomeness was all too lonely, Arkansas like broady oval, and the mooks he would a walking go. My hood, cries Anthony Romeo. So one grand summer evening, after a great morning and his good supper of gammon and spittish, having fladdled his eyes, cleoled his nostrils, vacicinated his ears, and palliumed his throat, he put on his impermeable, seized his impunable, hopped on his crown, and stepped out of his immobile de rure albo, so called, because it was chock full of master plasters, and had gorgeously let out gardens, strewn with cascadas, pintacostecas, orthodox, and currycomb, and set off from Ludstown a spasso to see how badness was badness in the weirdest of all sensible ways. As he set off, he was girded on, and with that between his legs and his tark heels, our once and only brag spear, he clanked, my thinking, from vetoes to tree-top, every inch of an immortal. He had not walked over a 50-yard pair of parsecs from his asylum, when at the turning of Shinshon Lantern, near St. Bowery's without his walls, he came, seconding to the 1/1 of his prophecies, and his limina permanent, upon the most unconsciously boggy-looking stream he ever locked his eyes with. Out of the Tullians, it took a rise by daubing itself Ninon. It looked little, and it smelt of brown, and it thought in narrows, and it talked so shallow. And as it ran, it dribbled like any lively... My, me and me, little down green, don't I love thee? And I declare, what was there on the yonder bank of the stream that would be a river, parched on a limb of the olum, both downright, but the gripes. And no doubt he was fit to be dried, for why had he not been having the juice of his times? His pips had been neatly all round on him, his pulps were charging odours every older minute, he was quickly forgetting the dresser's disdain on the flyleaf of his cron, and he was quietly forgiving the bailiff's distrain onto the bulk side of his fil de pompe. In all his specious healings, as believed by Optimus Maximus, the mooks had never seen his dub-billed brooder on low so nigh to a pickle. Adrian, that was the mooks' now's a something on, stuck still fizz at his to the gripes, in an accessit of orignation. But all mooks must have mood end, much as all routes, or steerways, or westers ways, in roaming run through Rome. Hicks or a stone, singularly illud, and on the hock stone, setter sat sate, which it filled quite preposterously, and by acclamatation, to its fullest justatorium, and whereupon, with his unfallible encyclicling upon his alloyable, you patriarch of the West, and the atomist sprinkled pederect he always walked with, Deus dated, cheek by jowl, with his fisherman's blag, bellowatrium fanes, his every way added to Wallace collection, for ye longer he leave, ye broader he be thought of it, the fetter, the sum, and the hall it cost. He looked the first and last Michael-like likeness of Quartus the 5th, and Quintus the 6th, and Sixtus the 7th, giving all night sitting to Leo the 45th. Good appetitus, sir mooks, how you do it, cheat the gripes, in a very wiggy Mardalenian voice, and the jackasses all within ball laughed and brayed for his intentions, for they knew their sly-toed Lowry now. I am rarum woman and blessed to see you, my dear mooks. Will you not perhaps tell me everything if you are pleased, sanity? All about Orn and Lithiel, and also all and all about Horn and Lysias, nay? Think of it, O miserendissimus retempta, a gripes. Rats, bellowed the mooks most telesphorously, the consummate, and the sissimuses and the zosimuses in their Roman houses quailed to hear his tardy noise at all, for you cannot wake a silken mouse out of a horse ear. Blast yourself!